Hi there, and welcome to Reflections. It's good to be back. I really missed last week, and I probably should not be here this week, but you know what? It's just hard to stay away. I love talking with my girls, and we love having a good time. Talking about current events, we talk about things going on Facebook and things going on in our lives, and some people may think it's boring. Other people think it's pretty exciting. Sometimes it's pretty neat to get into somebody else's life and say, you know what? I do the same thing. I'm not crazy. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot of commonalities. And so there's strength in numbers, I imagine. I do want to make one or a couple of announcements. The first thing is that William Casado Torres, his show that comes on at 3, will not be on today because he's sick. So we hope William feels better and can make it to the production meeting tomorrow. So William, feel better, and those that follow his show, you will not see him today at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Does that mean we're going to be subjected to like 2 hours of T-Bog?
I hope not.
Okay. I'm just checking.
I think T-Bog is going to be on at the regular time at 4.
Okay.
We do have a great big show. I'm going to sneeze tonight, and it's going to start at 8 Eastern Time. Sorry.
Bless you.
Told y'all things were going downhill fast. But at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, please tune in to The Place here on the Ustream channel. We're going to have, big name folks coming together, hoping to find some common ground. That's my goal and my wish. And if you can't find common ground, then be nice to each other. And that is one of our goals too, is to have honest, decent conversation. And I assure you that if anything goes south, it'll be stopped, because we're here to learn to respect each other, respect differences, and to embrace our sameness.
Right.
But we're going to have Dave Silverman, who's the president of the Association for Atheists here in America. We'll have Greg Bray, who is, we call him our resident atheist and our resident biologist. Professor Bob Graves will be on, Skyping in. Also here in studio will be Eric Hoven and Cy, and I cannot pronounce his last name, and I'm so sorry. But they sort of team up together and go around the country speaking. And then, of course, Dr. Jones. And it's going to be great. We're going to have an audience. We may have audience questions. We encourage questions from all the different media formats, Ustream chat, Facebook, text, phone, email, whatever you can do. But please don't miss it. Encourage people that you know to tune in, because it's going to be a meeting of the minds that hardly ever comes together. Usually you see like minds come together and talk, but it's a rare occasion when you see minds that are so, I say so far apart for the most part, but if you keep talking to somebody, you can always find something in common with them. Don't you think, Ruthie?
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And so that's our goal here at The Place. And my husband always says it is the place. We used to say of, and then we realize, we're striving for it. Right. Intellectual honesty. If something is not intellectually honest, we want to correct it. If it's not scripturally honest, we want to correct it. And if it's not spiritually honest, we want to correct it. And why go your life following a myth and fairy tale? So I'm proud to be a theist, and I will be a theist till the day I die. That'll never change. And some people say that sounds closed-minded. No, I'm just very secure and sure. However, atheists make a lot of great arguments, and I'm not going to close my ears to them. But I know that there is a wonderful, loving God, and it's not the God of the Old Testament. And that is where, in my conversation with atheists, they seem to kind of turn when they look at the Old Testament God, the one that was so full of wrath and all these horrible things. Who wouldn't? Well, I guess I didn't, but I didn't concentrate on that part. But when you really get in depth to it and you start studying it, you say to yourself, and it's a logical question, is that loving? and obviously it's not.
Right. Well, that's what mainstream Christianity has been about for hundreds of years. Is it has been, every word in the Bible is inerrant. Every word is the word of God, God breathed, however they want to term it. And that these people were divinely inspired to write this word, and that every word of it's true. And then we look at stories such as Noah and the flood, and Sodom and Gomorrah, and they use these stories to target people and to, label people, to classify people, and to cause division. And stories such as hell scare people, and, this has been what it's been about. And these are the questions that atheists have been asking. I mean, how is this good? How is this moral? And Christianity has avoided those questions by large for years. Mm-hmm. And the thing is now there's more and more. We're seeing it more and more people that are actually stepping up and saying, let's be honest about this. Does this make sense? Does this square up, the God of the Old Testament, with Jesus, who was God in the flesh here on earth? And are they one and the same? Can you meld these stories together and they make sense? Mm-hmm. And so with that honesty coming forth, we can have, discussions like we're having tonight, hopefully, where everybody respects one another for, having differences and looking for similarities and asking some tough questions and, trying to be as honest as possible and come together in some ways.
Now, Ruthie, you have a few more wisdom years on us. And when you were growing up, I know you've told me stories before, but it seems like questions were more or less discouraged instead of encouraged.
Right.
And what do you think is the outcome of that? I mean, what has it brought us to, discouraging questions in Christianity?
I think that when you ask questions and you don't get an answer, or they'll say, oh, that's just God's way, and they don't try to explain it, after a while you just decide, well, they don't know any more than I do, so I'm going to go someplace where somebody knows more. And so it causes people, even if they don't leave, if they stay there, they still have these questions, and they'll go through their life with these questions and them not being answered.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they're answered, but it's just believe it because the Bible says it, basically.
And it makes it hard on somebody when they're reaching the end and they realize they still don't know the answers to these questions. Mm. And they'll say, well, this one person I knew, and he said, all of my life has been a lie because he was going with what he was being taught, and yet that's not something he believed. And it was hard, hard. So,
yeah, that's a great point that you bring up. If you have lived your life as a total lie, and not really on purpose, but you just take it in, and then you get a certain age, say you're, 75, 76, 77, and then you say, you know what, I'm learning something new, but now I'm in my twilight years, and I need more time to learn, and I feel bad because this is the way I've governed myself based on untruths. And I'm not even going to say people do it on purpose, the ones that give you these untruths. It's because that's what they've been taught. Mm-hmm. So we're not here to place blame whatsoever.
Right, no.
That's what they were taught. And they closed their ears to new information. And even, I'm not young and I'm not old, but I even think, in my early teen years, I was so active in the youth group and witnessing and went on mission trips, and I gave out false information, and if I dwell on that, I feel horrible.
Right.
I feel horrible. Mm-hmm. And so it can bring a lot of, I don't want to say mental issues, but you do. If you have a conscience, you think about that. I told this group that and that group that, and people base their lives on what we say, and it's so important to know that what comes out of your mouth is so important to other people.
Right.
And you build up or you tear down.
In that same vein, I think about the fact that I would knock on people's doors and I would tell them, that all of us are sinners and that, God loves us, and so he sent his son to save us from hell. And I'm thinking how condemned I probably made somebody feel, You know, because I had a lot of doors slammed in my face. Well, you know, I'm just a sinner, you know, shut the door. Or I'm not, you know, this is me. I'm not going to change. And, you know, I'm not accepted at the church. And, I mean, you heard all of it. And to think that you participated in, you know, even if they didn't change and come to church and govern their lives according to what you know, let your life be governed by, how many people you gave the idea that they weren't worthy enough to be loved by the Father who created them.
That's true.
You know, and so it does. It's disturbing. So in that sense, you know, that's one of the reasons that we say that we believe the church is harmful. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, look at the people that you're isolating, the people that you're telling that they're not loved, that they're not good enough, you know. I mean, if either one of y'all heard me tell my children, either one of my children, that they, you know, they weren't worthy or they weren't good enough for me to love them, I imagine claws would come out on both of you. Exactly. And rightly so, but we've all participated in some fashion in this towards other people, and we can look at it now, and if it doesn't bother us, then there's a problem, like you said.
Right.
Yes.
But we still have to realize that we did the best that we knew how to do with the knowledge that we had at that time.
It's true. Exactly.
And if we closed our minds, then we were in the wrong. But if we keep our minds open, we're going to learn more. And some of the things we're saying today, 10 years from now, might not be true.
That's a good possibility. It's a good possibility.
And that's the thing, is that we are hopefully not putting our minds in park and thinking we know everything now, and that we're open to the fact of still learning and still growing and still assimilating information to help us move further along.
Right, so. Right. I will say this: I'm very ashamed of, you know, the condemnation I could have put on other people.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I felt it myself. And then, so when you give it to somebody else, you just think it's normal. And it's not normal, because, you know, God would not have us to be condemned, because He did not condemn any of us.
Right.
And if I could get anything over to the atheists is please do not take, you know, this was it's not a pet peeve, but it's my one question to them. You don't believe in God, you don't, you know, believe the Bible, whatever, but yet you're going to take the Bible, the written words of other people, and use it to prove how crazy Christians are. If you don't believe it, you know, don't use it as a source of authority. Does that make a little bit of sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I can see what you're saying, but I think it's more so that, you know, they're trying to take what, you know, what you believe, what you understand, you meaning a Christian, and say, look, let's logically, or let's talk about what you believe, you know. And this is what you believe based on this, which you hold. I mean, it's not that they hold it as an authority, but they know that you do. Not you, but, you know. You know what I'm saying. I hope you do.
I do. I understand that. Okay, moving on.
Sorry. There's some confusion in there.
No, not at all. Not at all. Okay, I want to send a shout out to Joanne Basil. I hope you're watching today. I saw on Facebook where you said that you hoped that I was going to feel better. And
she missed you.
Yeah, that was sweet. Thank you so much, Joanne. I want to spend just 5 minutes at the most on something. Woke up this morning about 6 o'clock to somebody, and obviously we know who it is, so I'm not going to say her name. But she put this on our timeline.
All you got to do is look on their timeline. You'll see the name. Sorry.
Yeah, it's stupid not saying the name, but I don't want to be
ugly.
I guess even bringing it up might be ugly. I hope not.
No.
But I just want to... She put on our timeline the link to the guy that we kept, it was homeless, and we brought in, and one of many. She just put the link to that blog post of his on our timeline, and there was no explanation. I guess she just wanted everybody to see it.
And this is nothing new. This has been done before, and we've addressed it before.
Exactly. But, you know, I don't know about her mama. And, of course, my mom has told me many things that I didn't do. But she did say, you know, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. So why take the effort to do that? And it's not a big deal. Who cares?
Well, unfortunately, it seems like most people, when they disagree with something that you believe in, the easiest thing, if they can't argue back or hold their own in a conversation and rationally discuss something with respect, mutual respect, them for you, you for them, that they go to attacking your character and throwing things out there that, you know, can be taken very one way instead of looked at in knowing the whole situation. Because nobody that wasn't here and dealing with the situation when he lived here knows, but those of us that were around very well know.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very one-sided, and so they throw it out there, and so it can be believed by some and not believed by others, and I really applaud. There was a comment from a gentleman named Doug Martin, and he said, you know, if you say you can testify to this and you're going to put this out there, have the balls to put your name on it. And I applaud that, because if you're going to put this out there, and if you're going to say, hey, you know, this is the facts about these people, and I can testify to it, why are you hiding? Why are you hiding behind some anonymous blog? Put your name on it. Take credit for it.
Right. And I even wrote a comment to this person that wrote the blog that we housed for 2 years, and I wrote a comment to be shown on the blog to give our side, but he didn't confirm it to be allowed to be seen. And so right there, you should know something is up. But I think what disturbs me to some degree is, you know, people that do know us, you know, I expected a little more support.
Right.
You know, I expected people to get on there and say, no, these people are this way and that way, that way. And you know what? Like you said, I applaud Doug Martin. And even though he didn't come out and say, you know, I know these people personally, he said, if this is all true, write your name on it, buddy.
Right.
And, you know, it took somebody that doesn't really know us to stand up. And people like that change the world, those that stand up. And this person has actually been really hateful to me in post. And we haven't deleted her because we don't believe in that. We've never deleted a person that has disagreed with us or said ugly things to us. Never. People have unfriended us, that's for sure. But we want to have a standard that, you know, you deserve to say something, but you need to back it up, you know.
Right, and that's really what the place is about. It's about allowing people to come and to give their opinions, to say what they think, right or wrong, or whether you feel it's right or wrong. You know, as long as they're not standing up here doing something that's going to be harmful to the children or harmful to other people in an immediate fashion, you know, I mean, you know what I'm saying. They don't need to be up here spewing something that's going to immediately hurt a child,
right,
or immediately hurt an adult, you know, or something. But as parents, you know, we're expected to gauge and take our children out when things aren't appropriately said. But, you know, we're allowing them to give their opinions and to say things, and we're not censoring. I mean, we have an atheist, Greg Bray, that does a regular show, and he's able to speak, and he's able to give his opinion, and we don't, like, take and censor his words out as he's speaking, you know. We don't make him pre-record it so we can edit everything out.
True.
So he's allowed a voice, and as long as it's done with respect, that's all that we've been about, is that respect one another in your conversations. But yet, even when it's been disrespectful, like especially on Facebook, which seems to happen quite often, where you get people, they want to, like I said, to start a character assassinations, or they want to, you know, say things like you're godless, or, you know, just, I can't even think of all of them. But
yeah, like she asked me, are you even a Christian, Rhonda? Like, well, if it's the same kind of Christian you are, I hope not.
Right.
If it's your definition of a Christian, I hope to God I'm not.
So, you know, I mean, but that's how it is. That's what we're doing. But what I have loved is that even when that has happened, the response back from you and from Dr. Jones and from the majority of the people that have made any kind of comments back to these people, it hasn't been ugly back, and that's wonderful. I want to be a part of a group that doesn't a character assassin,
right,
and that is willing to state the truth. But like Rhonda, she's sitting up here, she could easily say the name. All you have to do is go to Kaine Diatheke and you'll see the name, but she's not willing to say the name, and hurt somebody.
Yeah, and trust me, I am way far from perfect, and but I'm trying, and maybe this person is too. But I think that we're all born with just this basic. If you have $1 million or $10, you should have respect for each other and yourself. That's
right.
Free. I mean, at least have that. And that's my problem with people in religion. It seems like they are the most hateful, and I may be pigeonholing these people in that, but based on my experience, it's been the religious people that have been the most hateful. Just like the guy that we were going to have announcing, which was Dr. Jones' cousin. I don't want to be in the same room with an atheist. My morals are too. I know you, and your morals are too high. Oh, LOL. But. Really, even if he believed everything that the Bible says, we are called to take the gospel to other people and to engage other people. But no, not an atheist. I guess they're, not worthy to hear anything good.
And some people really quote that, God said to love one another, and that's, is one of my favorite, parts of what we call Scripture or the Bible, is that, we do believe that God is love, and that every action, yes, he deals with his children. He corrects, tries to lift them up, heal them of their problems, because they all have problems. But, every action is in love. It's not that he doesn't have justice, or he doesn't correct, or he doesn't discipline, but it's all based in love. But most Christians, it seems like it's love one another, but not if you're homosexual.
Yeah, not if you're
not
different.
If you're an atheist, not if you're a Muslim, not if you're,
Yeah.
So, and that's very, very sad.
A form of prejudice.
Yes, exactly right. Prejudice has not, disappeared in this country.
Just taking new directions.
Yeah, other directions, because
Yeah.
we still have that, but it has definitely. Anywho, but we didn't remove her post. I mean, we left it up there and thinking, that's, if she wants to put that on there, maybe we should have taken it down. But then, to me, that's a form of censorship. And if she starts being mean to other people other than us, then I would certainly take it down to protect other people. But, sometimes, excuse me, sometimes when you are out there making a difference, and when she says the New Covenant group, that entails all of us. That's a lot of people.
Right.
And we are just going to try to love her right through it, and we'll love her right through it. And hopefully she can see things, and hopefully I can learn something through this. And I want to be the best I can be. All right, enough of that. But anyway, here we go again. All right, Momo, you have something, a little tearjerker for us.
Yeah, I saw earlier this week I actually think I saw it on Facebook. Somebody had posted it. And I don't have it pulled up here, but it was about I believe it was a high school basketball team that had a young man on it who was developmentally disabled. Most of us know that term is a newer term to mean he has mental disabilities. But he was on the team, and the coach says, I can't say that I don't have a favorite player, because, he favored this little boy who had this developmental disability. And he said that him, and I think it was probably a team decision, if I remember correctly, decided that win or lose, that in this game, I think it was possibly the last game of the season, that they would play him. And normally he would put on a jersey and sit on the sidelines and cheer and do stuff with the team and practice with the team and stuff. But they let him play, and he kept shooting baskets. They kept giving him the ball. They kept giving him the ball, and he kept shooting baskets and kept missing. And where it really got just wonderful is the other team got the ball. They were out of bounds and were about to throw it in. And the other team, a player on the other team, said his mom always taught him to do unto others as he would want done to him. He called the young man's name that had the developmental disability. I think his name might have been Mitchell or Mitch. I can't remember. But called his name and inbounded the ball to the boy, and the boy made a goal. So, or made a basket. So, wow, what sportsmanship. And what a way to be a leader on his team, to show this other team that, win or lose. I mean, I think that the team that the boy was on that had the developmental disability still lost the game. But like they said in the article, everybody won that day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it did. It brought me to tears watching it. About to tear up here, or about to cry here today. Because we need more of that in this world. We need more people like this young man who, he could have passed it to his team. They could have scored, and it could have been, even bigger win or whatever. I hope I'm not misquoting it, the article, and the other team won. But, regardless, he did something for this young man without any thought to himself.
Right. So. Now, I'm going to say this, but it has nothing to do with what you just said. And I'm going to get the quote really crazy off kilter, but there's some kind of quote that says, I don't know, my mind's crazy, but it's better, it's even a bigger person that will do something good for somebody else when nobody's looking. And there's a word before that, like, I don't know, humility or greatness or whatever, is when you do something for another person when nobody's watching. And this has nothing to do with that little boy, because, but it just reminded me about doing things for people. And sometimes, as human beings, we like credit sometimes, to get credit, to get praise, to get somebody to look at us, see what we're doing. But when we do it and nobody's looking, nobody knows about it, that's greater.
Yeah.
But there's another word for it, another adjective for it.
And when you do something on the sidelines or so that only the person you do it for knows, and maybe they don't even know, you feel so much better about doing that than when you tell everybody, this is what I'm going to do,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes you feel so much better. So.
Yeah, I'm not meaning that this boy that threw the ball, did it because everybody was watching, but it just reminded me of it. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are people that probably would argue that maybe he did it, to get the attention for himself. But, if it wasn't a team decision, you have to think about the fact that he has all these other team members. What do these other team members think?
Right.
What about his coach? What does his coach think? Because there's some coaches that take stuff way over the line, I would say. Because, if somebody misses a basket, they'll slap them upside the head, or they'll be just down on somebody, you screwed up, And there's a difference between coaching a player and saying, hey, you really should have made that shot. Or you should be practicing that shot more, or whatever. Or, demanding that somebody, or, being hard on somebody, too hard on somebody. And, we hear about those stories too.
Yeah,
so we don't know the whole situation, but I do believe that it was more of just a gesture, that he just saw an opportunity to do something for him. But I do agree that, being able to do something for somebody and that, you're never going to get notoriety that you did it. It means a lot more because, it's just...
Right.
It's just for that person.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be that even your neighbor knows,
Right. So. And there are exceptions to every rule, most every rule. And so I want to talk about something that I read actually today on Yahoo it was an elder care facility, and I think she was 87 or so, but a lady was in distress, and someone called 911. That was strange to me because you have nurses there and hopefully a doctor on the floor. Or
well, it depends. There's different levels of there's assisted living and there's nursing homes there, and so some of those don't. Some of the facilities, and I can't quote which ones have it, which ones don't, because my aunt was at one that had no medical professionals at it, and then she was moved to one that had nurses on staff.
Gotcha.
So,
well, this one did.
so okay.
Okay. Well, this one did have nurses on staff, but 911 was called, and the 911 operator said, okay, somebody needs to give this woman CPR. And he must have been speaking to a nurse, and she says, I'm sorry, but our policy is not to give elderly patients CPR. And the man said, she needs CPR. And he said, well, is there a passerby, somebody walking down the hall that you can give the phone to and I can help them give CPR? But she was very firm in this. By the time the emergency personnel got there and took her to the hospital, this patient died. Now, on the surface, when you hear that, you think, oh my goodness, did they have a do not resuscitate order, or is it just the policy of this facility, or is it just a rule among the nurses? It makes you wonder.
My first thought would be, that there's a do not resuscitate, but then again,
no, that's what I thought. But she said, no, it is our policy that we do not perform CPR on elderly patients.
Now, I will tell you, I did recently take a class in first aid CPR, and one of the comments that the instructor made is that, if you ever have to give it, do not be freaked out if you start hearing bones crack. Because the pressure that you have to use to, indent the chest to reach the heart to keep it pumping is a good pressure. And a lot of times you'll hear bones crack. So I'm wondering if their policy is not to do that because it could cause, although it might save a life, you might actually, because a lot of the older people are more frail, you might actually cause the death and could be sued or something. I don't know. Maybe
Right.
that's my thought there.
Well, when I heard it on the news, I got the impression that this lady was a visitor there. She wasn't one of their patients. That was the impression I got from a news report that I saw. And but they do have a policy there to not perform CPR on anyone. So to me, unless that person has a do not resuscitate order, then you need to do it. And if you don't know that whether they do or not, you still need to.
Right. That's kind of my feeling,
Yeah,
too.
but like I say, this person probably would have lost her job if she had. But still,
It's like a very
a person's
ethical
life-
dilemma.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
It really is.
You can't judge and say she was wrong. All you can do is think what you would have done.
Right.
But you can't judge what she did because you only know what you saw on the
Right.
news.
That's
You weren't
true.
there, so.
That is true. We're just going with the bare bones
And see,
facts.
I didn't see the story, so I'm just, speculating up here.
Well, I know when my father-in-law was in the hospital, I was up there. It seemed like every time he went to the ER, I was with him in the ER, for admission. And every time they asked, does he have a living will or do not resuscitate? And I would always say, no, do everything you can to save him. We didn't know how bad he was early on. And no, do it all. I don't care. And at times I would ask him when he could tell me, isn't that right, Papa? Don't you want to, and he wanted to live. And so I remember the last, that's going to be hard. The last time that I was with him in the ER, a doctor came to me and he said, I need to talk to you outside the room. And okay. And he said, I see where you have, do everything you can. And I said, right, that's the way we believe right now. And he said, do you know that if I started to perform CPR on him, if his heart failed, he said, more than likely, if you do it right, you'll have a cracked rib because you have to go, and he said so many inches down.
Yeah,
and,
it's
and
2 inches down on an adult.
he said, and that could puncture his lung, it could do this and that. And he said, he's frail, he's old. And then to hear that, it was hard, because you're taking, I I believe that God knows when we're going to die, how we're going to die, whatever. And so, and then you could say, well, God knows, if the lung was going to be punctured, he'd die anyway. But I wanted everything possible to save him. But the last time he went in, his arm had just broken on its own, and that's why he went in. And knowing that, how frail he was, and the cancer was probably in his bones, then you just say, don't. And then it's hard to say.
Yes, it is.
Ruthie, you went through a horrible...
Yeah, like when my niece was in the hospital, she had pneumonia, and they had her like in a medical-induced coma. But she got so bad that the doctors called her husband and her brother in and said, if she has heart failure, we cannot resuscitate her, because if we tried, it would burst her lungs because of the condition her lungs was in. He said, be just like breaking a crystal glass. That's what would happen with her lungs. And so it was really hard, but they took her off of life support, and that was like Monday morning, and she passed away Monday night. So, but it was a hard decision to make. So,
it really is. It just seemed like, for whatever reason, it seemed like I was there whenever all the tough things came down, and I'm like, it's hard to deal with.
Yes, it is.
I think that was also the wisdom of the people around that knew and loved him, but also it was probably the wisdom of God that you were better able to make those decisions than probably, not that you weren't close to him, because you were very close to him, but then maybe his own child or his wife or somebody. So, you were close enough to provide loving care and to want to know his wishes and to want to convey his wishes and to help him get the care he needed. But at the same time, you were close enough or distance enough to be able to look at things objectively.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
So I think that, that was a good thing, possibly.
I know when my mother-in-law was sick, she had heart problems, and they had her on medication, and one of them would get her heart beating at a rhythm, but it took away her appetite, and she'd get to the point where she was going downhill from that, so they'd take her off, and she'd get her appetite back, and then her heart would really... And I'm so thankful for her, because she had everything all taken care of before we even got there to be with her the last week. She already had the cemetery picked out. She had the dress she was going to wear. She had everything ready when she went. And the doctors knew this is what she wanted. They did everything they could to keep her comfortable. But
yeah, you're right. I think that's so important, and that maybe somebody listening needs to do this. All of us maybe that haven't, is because it's so hard on the family to do this at that critical time. But if you have it all written down, they know, and they don't have to bear the burden of this big, huge decision.
Right.
That haunts you sometimes.
Right. I think that is important. I went in for a simple surgery, and I wasn't really scared of dying or anything, but that there's always, sometimes people are allergic to the anesthesia or, some glove or, just different tool or some medicine that may be administered. So I think it's sensible to prepare, to, put your wishes and stuff down. And so, my thought was, I would want my husband to make the decision for me, but... you hear about these instances like with Terry Schiavo and stuff where it was a battle, and I didn't want that. So not just making those decisions so your loved ones aren't burdened with it, but making those decisions and making your wishes known, so if the time comes,
right,
hopefully you can head off this battle.
Right.
If you have a parent or somebody who would want to step in and say, no, this person doesn't have a right.
Well, honestly, with the Terry Schiavo thing, I was pulled... because I think the husband had a girlfriend or fiance, or he had somebody, he had moved on because she was in this vegetative state. And to me, personally, it would behoove him for her to kick the bucket. And so I didn't think that was exactly right for him to be able to say take her home. You know, I just didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying.
Now, did she have her wishes? I can't remember, but did
I
she
can't
have her
either.
wishes known ahead of time?
I
Because to
don't
me,
think so.
I
if
don't
she
think so
had
either.
her wishes known ahead of time, then
Yeah,
you know.
and so here you have this long drawn out battle. People are demonized. Like I'm
Right.
not trying to demonize him, but in my mind I thought, you know, dude, you shouldn't really, because you stand to gain in some respects because you've moved on already, and the parents stand to lose a child, and so I was for the parents, not the husband, and
Right.
you know, it brought the country, it gave us a conversation to talk about this, and hopefully more people have these living wills now instead of, you know, just whatever happens, you know, do your best.
Right.
And so,
And I mean, and I think it has to go beyond just the healthcare issues too, because like if you have children, you know, what are your wishes? Say Joey and I should get in the car today, and our kids are staying the night with grandma, and we get in a bad accident, and we're gone suddenly. Where do you want your kids
Yeah,
to
that's true.
spend the rest of their life? Who's going to be responsible for their care? And
well, they're already at grandma's, so that's just
yeah,
Yeah.
still start something.
But the grandmas might fight.
that is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
I know we lived in California, and there was we went to visit a lady, and her next door neighbor had her and her husband, and she was pregnant, had gone out for New Year's Eve, and they were killed in an automobile accident, and they left 2 young children. And nothing had been said.
Because young
And-
people do not think they're going to die.
And one grandmother took one child, and the other grandmother took the other child. So here these was like a 3 and a 5-year-old. They lost both parents, and they lost their sibling. And when we moved to Idaho, we went down and, well, when we was in California, we had it made, but we had it checked in Idaho. And Idaho said, well, you can do it, and the court will take into consideration what your wishes are. But Child Services will have to decide if you're good enough. In other words, whether
yeah.
you can take on our 3 children or not. If
Gotcha.
you know, without the children being harmed.
That makes a little sense
Yeah,
to me.
and that was the way the state of Idaho had it. They would look at it and consider our wishes. But if we wanted a family to take them that was just barely keeping up with their own,
Yeah.
then that wouldn't have, the state would not
Overrule
have, yeah,
your
would not
wishes.
have allowed that. But
Ah, okay. Well,
but-
you know, there's another article in the news today about a couple were on their way somewhere. I'm not sure, maybe on the way to the hospital to have the baby. I'm not sure. I may be lying to you, and I don't want to. But they got killed in a car accident, but the baby was born. And so now they probably didn't think they were going to die. Now you have this baby. Where's the baby go? You know, we've got to think about, you know, we all are going to die. Some people think that Jesus is going to split the eastern sky and we'll all be, some people be raptured and this will happen. You know, folks, that's not going to happen. We're going to die. We're going to be born, die, born, die. That cycle is going to go on. And so you've got to prepare yourself.
Right.
I hope I'm not jinxing myself by talking about this. I'm sort of
Well,
superstitious.
but everybody kind of feels like that. I don't want to talk about death, but, you know, I don't want to think about, you know, but I think that we have to. I mean, there's just so many things that can happen. And so, you know.
especially nowadays.
there's another thing too, insurance.
Yes.
You take out insurance so that if you die, your wife and children will be taken care of. You never think about insuring the wife, but you should insure her too, because if she died, you're losing a housekeeper, a babysitter, a cook, and a washer, a clothes laundry. You know, look,
Chauffeur for the
and
kids.
when you have to start paying for all this, it's going to be expensive. And so
You hear that,
it's
Joey?
it's something you really need to think about. And I know a lot of people when they're younger, we don't. But now that
True.
I'm older and I've seen a lot of this, I've seen things where this really should have been done. And
true.
but you don't think about it because the husband is a breadwinner, not so much now, but when I was younger. The husband was a breadwinner, so he was insured to take care of his wife and his kids.
Right.
Never thought about the wife might go first.
And truth be told, he couldn't afford to pay for the
Right.
washer, the cook, the babysitter, the
Right,
blah, blah,
right.
blahs and blah, blah, blah.
You want to figure out how.
I was going to say this. Early on, you know, you think about getting insurance on your child, like little kids, like Gerber Life, you can get it for $3
yeah.
a month or whatever. I was so superstitious. I would, because as soon as I get insurance on our children, one of them's going, I never, ever would do that. And that's just some of my country hillbilly superstition coming out.
Right.
Wouldn't do it. Won't do it. But,
How much do you have on Joey now? No, I'm just kidding.
Now, when they start getting older, that's a different story. They
get their own.
They lived out their usefulness. But it's crazy how superstitious sometimes we can be without even knowing it and knowing that's not how life is.
Right.
It's not, you say something and it's going to happen.
Just like if you fill out this power of attorney for someone to take over for you if you're incapacitated, not just that you die, but if you're incapacitated, somebody has to do the stuff, and then you don't want to do that because just as soon as I take care of that, I'm going to have a stroke or something.
That's true.
Or you fill out this living will,
right,
so that if you've got someone to take over and this type of stuff. That's not going to make any difference. You could do it today and you might die tomorrow, but it wasn't because you did it today. I'm just saying, but that's not going to change your span of life. It's not going to change it. It's just making it easier on the people you love that you're leaving behind.
That's true. And that's words of wisdom from someone that has a lot of wisdom highlights in her hair.
Yes.
She has a wisdom dye job.
We keep all telling ourselves that these are not gray hairs. These are wisdom highlights, and we're just extremely wise up here on this
wisdom
stage.
highlights. So that's our new word for gray, the gray demons. Well, we've talked about enough topics, and we hope that some of it has entertained you, some of it has informed you. And please show up at 8 p.m. tonight, Central Standard Time, and be ready for I would hope, some invigorating conversation, some respectful conversation, because I know Dr. Jones will make sure that goes on. If not, I'll be in the audience tonight, and I'm going to make sure that goes on. So tune in.
I'll be there too.
That's right. Between Ruthie and I and Monica, we'll be the sergeants at arms. So, in the love of the Lord, we will dish it out. Well, we'll see you next week on Reflections. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.